Well, the bromance seems to officially be over. Fox propagandist and MAGA cultist Sean Hannity is still complaining and is visibly upset about comments that Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom made about the Republican Party 4 days ago. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, we have several clips to play in this video. They really illustrate, once again, how fragile and sensitive people at the Fox Propaganda Network, people in the Republican Party, and just prominent conservatives in general really are. Now, before I play the clips, just to remind you, there seemed to be a bit of a bromance or seeming mutual respect between Sean Hannity, a close ally of Donald Trump, a stalwart conservative, and Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democratic governor of California. They had a viral interview where Hannity interviewed Governor Newsom and was destroyed by him in quick order. Hannity also proposed at the time when Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, was running in the Republican primary against Donald Trump, a debate between Newsom and DeSantis, seen as like the heir apparents of their two respective parties. And he promised that it would be a fair and impartial debate he would simply moderate. But as those of you who've seen the debate have noticed pretty rapidly, it was effectively a 2v1. One loaded question after another, softball questions for Ron DeSantis, the hardest and most edged, most cherry-picked questions for Newsom. And ever since then, we saw the bromance start to fray. Well, if it was alive prior to last week, it is now dead. So this clip is from Sean Hannity either today or yesterday, still complaining about criticisms that Governor Gavin Newsom made of the Republican Party. We're going to play this most recent clip from Hannity, then Gavin Newsom's original comments, and then Hannity's initial reaction, because, again, he's very clearly triggered.
Oh, okay. I don't think many people buy that. Now, Governor Newsom also made probably his most repulsive and despicable comment this week when he said Republicans give rapists more rights than families to trying to get in vitro fertilization, IVF. By the way, we're going to deal with that later in the week.
So Hannity's upset because of this controversial and despicable case from the Supreme Court, or judgment rather, from the Supreme Court of Alabama, populated by just a bunch of far-right loons, which further restrict women's reproductive health and reproductive rights. So again, 4 days later, Hannity's very upset about this, but these are the initial comments from Governor Gavin Newsom in a CNN interview with Jake Tapper that sparked Hannity's outrage.
Courts, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos are children. They invoked the wrath of a holy God in their decision. Multiple clinics in the state are now pausing their IVF treatments as a result. You called the decision sickening. Yeah, what are Democrats going to do about it, if anything?
Well, we'll continue to be on the offense. We're backed up by the American people. We're backed up post-Dobbs. You just see these Republican parties on the defense on this issue for good reason, because the American people have had it. This extremism manifested, the ultimate extremism, on the issue that impacts 1 out of every 6 people that in their lifetime have fertility issues. And this is profound. And you talk about freedom, spare me. The Republican Party and this freedom gospel. What about family freedom? What about the right of people that want to start a family? And think about this, Jake. You know this. Everybody knows this. You saw the stats. 65,000 births due to rapes since Dobbs in 14 states. Apparently, what the Republican Party is saying is the rapists have more rights to bring those babies to birth than families that are trying desperately to have the privilege you and I have had as fathers and parents. It is a disgrace, and it's a political problem for them, but it's a moral issue. And I found what happened in Alabama disgusting. And by the way, you have an AG in Alabama that also is out there promoting a travel ban that wants to criminalize travel for anyone that seeks an abortion out of state.
So pretty hard-hitting stuff, pretty blunt assessment of the Republican Party, I think well-deserved by them, by the way, given their decades-long war on reproductive rights. And right now, the Alabama Supreme Court, the right-wing Alabama Supreme Court, has done something that even many Republicans are publicly distancing themselves from, including Donald Trump, because they know the polling on it. They see one electoral result after another in even deep red states like Kansas and Kentucky, in which attack on reproductive rights, including abortion, and I certainly expect IVF treatments, will be met with severe electoral penalties for the Republican Party. So given those facts and given the fact that 80% of even right-wing polling indicates that the majority of right-wing polling indicates that 80% of Americans, reject this sort of war on IVF and fertility treatments. Some Republicans are trying to get ahead of it, but Newsom is effectively trying to preempt them, right? Because again, they're the dog that caught the car and they've created the circumstance for such things. But this was Hannity's initial response in the hours after Newsom made his remarks again 3 or 4 days ago.
I'll tell you, the comments yesterday made by Gavin Newsom about how Republicans are putting rapists ahead of the women that they impregnate. By the way, Gavin, repulsive statement by you. And coming from you, I've got to be honest, frankly, every crime committed in your sanctuary state of California, including raping and the murders that have taken place, illegal immigrants, that is because of your policies, Joe's open borders, where they literally are allowing unvetted illegal immigrants from Iran and Syria and Afghanistan and Egypt and Russia and China to cross our border. He bears that responsibility, and Joe Biden bears that responsibility. And God forbid, among those nearly 10 million illegals unvetted in this country, we wake up one morning like we did in 2001 on 9/11, and there's an attack. The likelihood of that is growing every day we do not secure the border.
Well, if you want to secure the border, then perhaps you should call your buddy, your cult leader, Donald Trump, and say, hey, stop putting pressure on Republicans to sabotage a bipartisan conservative border bill simply so you can use it as a wedge issue to punish Democrats in the election. Perhaps you and your political ideology, the conservatives, and your political proxies, the Republican Party, should put governance above winning elections and help secure the border rather than impede efforts to secure the border. Again, we've been through this, right? Under Donald Trump, he demanded that Congress take legislative action to help him, quote unquote, secure the border. So we know that border security requires legislation. We know that this bipartisan deal was endorsed by the anti-Biden, pro-Trump Border Patrol Union. So again, they're just simply wrong on the facts, right? To say nothing of the fact that it's pretty clear, as we've covered in previous videos, it seems like the Fox Propaganda Network is actively cheerleading. They're salivating at the prospect of a terrorist attack occurring under President Biden. Because unlike when a terrorist attack occurred under President Bush, they will not unite behind the sitting president, nor will they demand or expect anybody to, because that's only for Republicans. When a Republican's in the White House, Republicans expect everybody to shut up and fall in line, regardless of your sincerely held political beliefs. But if a Democrat's in power, well, then you can just be as divisive and politically expedient as possible. It doesn't matter. Country be damned. But also by Hannity's logic, if that's the case, if Gavin Newsom and President Biden are somehow responsible for whatever crimes you allege are being committed by undocumented migrants who, by the way, commit crimes at fewer rates than American citizens, then by that logic, Hannity and Republicans and conservative thought leaders are responsible, morally at least, for gun violence in this country, every act of gun violence, given that they oppose gun legislation, gun safety legislation, right? That's how the logic works. But something else I want to point out, Gavin Newsom hit Republicans and just in general for the 65,000 rape-related pregnancies. This was Greg Abbott in the aftermath of him signing a very restrictive heartbeat bill, anti-abortion bill, after Roe v. Wade was overturned. This is what he said when this hypothetical was brought up to him.
Why force a rape or incest victim to carry a pregnancy to term?
Texas will work tirelessly to make sure that we eliminate all rapists from the streets of Texas.
The reality.
Right. So Abbott's idea is, listen, you guys don't have to worry about it because we're going to get rid of rape. Well, rape is already illegal, right? But rape still occurs anyway. So perhaps you should consider that in your calculation, because according to a recent study, of those 65,000 rape-related pregnancies, 26,000 of them have occurred in Texas after Texas outlawed abortions. Okay, folks? And that's 65,000 total. So Governor Newsom is correct to hit Republicans on this, both as a moral issue and also because, well, it's a political loser for Republicans. And given that they like to play ruthless politics all the time, I don't see why what's good for the goose isn't what's good for the gander, okay? But the fact that Hannity is so triggered here just kind of betrays the weakness. He knows this is a loser for Republicans, both the IVF ban in Alabama and just also the raft of reprehensible post-Dobbs abortion-related issues which have plagued the Republican Party. That's why he's panicked. That's why he's upset. That's why he's so outraged at Governor Newsom, because he knows, at least on this issue, Democrats have a decisive winning hand. And by the way, we should ruthlessly and effectively play it. We should hang this around the necks of every elected Republican until they viciously push back on all of it and become strident pro-choice advocates. Until then, they should bear the political consequences and electoral consequences of these situations. Let me know what you think in the comments.